Well, the car that started it all for me, my FC, is coming out of the graveyard. Finally getting some parts to work on the old girl. She's been dead in the water for far too long, collecting dust, holding concrete down, as I like to say. But the old Red Rocket, she's coming back out of retirement. The million gauges that I got in the car, steering wheel that's removable, I mean, all this fun stuff. I got a bunch of stuff. The car is fully caged. It's just so sad sitting it sit here like this. Looks like absolute shit. Like arrow catches. If you guys use hood pins, highly recommend getting arrow latches or arrow catches. These things are phenomenal. Turn some lights on here. Used to have a turbo setup on here that I built a long time ago that was a MT45 with master power. Thing was a brute, and it was Brazilian, the Brazilian made turbo. It was the good turbo, and car dynoed at 699 at the wheel, 470-ish torque or something like that. So it was a pretty good number. But I built this manifold for a GTX 4202 that I had. Let's see if I can get some more light on here. It's a little dark, isn't it? There, that's better, isn't it? But anyway, here's that manifold I was talking about. 60 mil tile wastegate. Schedule 10, I believe. Large diameter runners. Fits real good. Packaging on it was really nice. I think I got some pictures out there someplace of the manifold. I don't know how. I'm not a good editor, so I don't do a lot of editing. But gold leaf for the heat barrier everywhere. That stuff's expensive, but if it's in the budget, get it. It definitely works quite well. But anyway, got rid of the 4202 before I even started the car. I had plans for something else, and something told me I should hold out before doing any kind of turbo stuff. And sure enough, Garrett brings out the G42 line of turbos, the new G line. So what's planned now is put the G42 1450 on the car. That's what I'm going. I like running bigger chargers. This motor I have built to spin 10,500. The motor pulled on the dyno to 9 grand, and it never dropped power. I could have built more power, but fuel system I had at the time just wasn't up to the task. So plans now are the G42 1450 is going on. That'll be ordered probably within the next week or two. 5 weeks, actually 6 weeks ago, I ordered Fortune Auto 510s, custom built dampers. Again, if you guys don't know what those are, there's the top of one of the dampers. They're custom built to your specifications, sort of. I'm not going to say 100% that they're custom built, because they're not. They're partially custom. You basically just choose your options that you want to get. Again, it's really dark. It's hard to see them. I'll get some better pictures down the road. I don't think I really have any good lighting here. Oh, you know what? I do have some good lighting. Bam. Turn on it. There we go. Now we got some light in the subject here. There's the damper. They fit in really nice. They're one-way adjustable, or these particular ones are one-ways. They have options to go 2 ways, 3 ways as well. Reason why I got the 510s versus the 500s, I spent the extra money and I waited for them because I wanted to, like I said, they are fully custom built to your spec. Well, I should say partially custom built to your spec. You know, and basically what it is the option of your spring rates. So I chose a spring rate that is comparable for what we were running with a DOT on a road race track in our ITS car. So spring rates and damper are basically for an ITS car that is a fraction of the horsepower this car is. Also slightly lighter, but I went down about 100 pounds in spring rate from where I was with the ITS car. And I'm running much bigger, much wider tires. I run a 255 sectional front tire and a 275 sectional rear tire. Tire actually that I run on, I'm going to be running is a 888R from Toyo. In fact, I'm going to be mounting those up tomorrow and putting them on. But these are nice. They're valving and their dampeners and the way they built them are really nice. These are fully the option that I did was one of the options was to have full heim joints. So on the back shock, instead of having it bush mounted on the bottom, where are they at? Here's my knuckle there. There's a heim joint instead. These aren't bolted on all the way, but they're just loosely in here. So you get option to run the rear heims, rear aluminum bodies. I did not get the rear aluminum body for these. They're standard steels, which is fine for what I'm needing. I'd actually rather have the extra little bit of weight that it added to the back of the car. They come standard with the aluminum perches with the bearing, front and rear. The other option that I chose was the locking clamps for the adjusters, which is nice, and these are fully adjustable as far as ride height, which is nice. A lot of these, what is it? Some of the other companies, their ride height adjustable. You're actually adjusting your ride height via the spring rate or the spring height. These particular shocks, and the reason why I chose these is you adjust your ride height via the shock length itself with the body, and then you just, then you can rough corner balance really quite fast that way, and then fine tune your corner balancing with adjusting your spring rates from there, or your spring height from there, which is nice. But like the really high end shocks, like we run on the race car, which is from Team Dynamics, those are not full threaded body, so we actually corner balance just by the spring only, and I'm not a fan of that. The shock package I had in here previously was FLTA2s from JIC Magic, and I really liked that setup, and they were the spring rates were slightly off, and those you don't have your choice of spring rates, and I never got around to putting some different spring rates in that to see if it was it would make it a little bit better. But I did like the way the fitment of those and the front perches were phenomenal and whatnot. And with the decline of GIC in the United States, it kind of made it hard to get those rebuilt and serviced and stuff like that. So what I ended up doing is parking this car for a couple of years while I worked on everybody else's stuff, and with financials and everything else, this thing kind of got lost by the wayside. But now it's coming back. I got plans. Like I said, I ordered these the first of the year really, and I finally got them last week, and I put them in. And like I said, I really like them. I wanted to get, and this is where I say they partially custom built. I didn't want any of the green or the blue on them because it doesn't match red at all. I called them and asked them and see if they would anodize stuff black, because they do offer a black anodizing in some of their Subaru stuff that they have for their upper perches. But they said no, so I was a little bit upset about that. But that clashes like really bad, and I'm sorry, I'm not into the whole Christmas thing 24/7, 365. So wish they would have been able to anodize in black. So Fortune Auto, if you ever see this, please anodize offer black anodizing. I know green's your color, but dude, it clashes pretty bad. At any rate, enough about those. I'm looking forward to trying these out, and again, to get down, another reason why I got the 510s over the 500s is down the road I do plan on having these redone again and putting piggybacks and making them double adjustable or even triple adjustable. We'll see how that goes, but we'll go from there. This engine is kind of a hodgepodge, not really a hodgepodge, but it started life as the JIC Cosmo 2 rotor 13B, and it's got one of my very large extended race ports. The motor actually makes some pretty good torque down low, which is unusual for rotaries, we all know, but this thing actually made some pretty darn good torque. Very drivable. It cruised really well, and it pulled like a freight train even with the large turbo. There was very little lag, zero actually, and the more throttle input you pulled, it just kept pulling like a freight train. It never stopped, and it never felt like that on-off switch like you would feel like with a large turbo car. This never felt like that. A lot of that had to do with the way I ported the engine, how I built the engine. It's a mixture of RX-8 parts. It's a mixture of the RE, a mixture of the REW, and the T2. There's a bunch of different things in it. Again, it's all built in-house. I do have almost 10,000 miles on this block, and I beat the living snot out of it, and it's taken it. And it took me about 6 engines worth of trial and error, 2 of which did meet a pretty bad demise. The rest of them was just me taking them apart in the wintertime, freshening them up, and trying different things to get to this combination, and it works really well. This is not the standard RE or the JIC Cosmo throttle body. Externally it is, but on the inside it's actually been bored out to the REW secondary butterflies, so this is actually a much larger throttle body than standard JIC. Things to come for the front half of this motor. I'm going to be taking this front cover off, switching to the REW front cover, and getting rid of the CAS. Never did like that. It's aftermarket ECUs, or that thing's kind of a bear to put aftermarket ECUs with. So I'm going to just go to the normal crank trigger and go from there. Water pump might be a little bit of a trick because REWs do spin backwards versus normal 13Bs, so we'll have to figure that one out. But other than that, I took the power steering out of the car for quite some time, and it's got a manual rack in it. And for anybody that's ever driven these cars with the power steering rack versus the manual rack, you'll know how slow these freaking manual racks are. They are reasonably slow. So the manual rack is coming out. I'm putting the power steering back in because with 255 front sectional tire, it kind of makes it a little tough. You build your biceps up pretty good with this car. So going back to the power steering, that's why the pump still is in there. Trying to do a little bit. I did build a custom bracket for that because I at one point wanted to mount my alternator down there to see if it would help with some noise, but I'm going to keep the alternator where it's at. Kind of balances everything out, especially once the turbo's in there. It kind of balances everything out anyway. So power steering pump is going back in, or it's already back in, and I'm going to put the power steering lines and stuff, put a power steering cooler in it, and then with the new ECU that I have planned for the car, I'm going to actually make the power assist actually function properly. If you also notice, there is no oil metering pump on this motor. I do premix oil. I run Lucas oil, semi-synthetic, low ash, smokeless 2-stroke oil, and that is my oil of choice for 2-stroke. And I tell you what, like I said, I got about 10,000 miles on this thing, and I beat the living snot out of it. I do run 93 octane. I don't run E85. I will never run E85 or any alcohol in this thing. It's always going to be on gas or race gas. Never alcohol. it's just too corrosive for for my needs. Yeah, it does cool, but it's just never gonna have water injection or nothing like that. I will never use it myself. If you want to use it, more power to you, but for my needs, pump gas is just fine. 93 octane or 110, 112 or C16, something like that, it'll be just fine. Man, this car needs a bath pretty bad, but yeah, it's finally going to come out of retirement. I used to run Wolf ECUs in here, no longer that's going to be. I will never deal with Wolf again. The falling out was just too much. So Motec is what's going in this now, the M1 series. I will be putting the electronics package together here shortly for it. Like I said, with that ECU, I'm going to try to get the proper setup for the power steering for speed density to like it was originally with the car. I think it'll make it a hell of a lot better to drive once that is set up the proper way, because this car was, I don't know if you guys ever, any of you guys FC guys out there have ever driven one of these things. When you run a power steering rack with no hydraulics going through it, it kind of bucks you a little bit, and with the manual rack it's just too slow. So put the power steering pump back in it and get the speed sensors working again. I think it's going to make this a hell of a lot better, more enjoyable to drive. This used to be a GXL, so this actually used to have the auto adjusting suspension. It was naturally aspirated. It's come a long way. It is an S5, it's an 89, it's true S5. And yeah, the rims I run are Inky RPF 1s. Sorry my shop is a mess, but oh well. I'm running 17 by 10 18 mil offset rears and 17 by 9 22 mil offset fronts with Toyo Triple 888 R's for tires. I'm gonna try those out. I was running the Falcon 615Ks. An okay tire, it's just an okay tire. Good for street, but not really a track tire. Now I'm going more track oriented. Again, for another reason for putting the 510s in versus the 500s or anybody else's, and go from there. It's a large front mount intercooler from, it's actually a Vibrant core. It's an old Vibrant core, but I need to modify that for the new chargers that I got planned. There's no oil cooler in the car currently. That's gone. I'm actually going to be doing side mount oil coolers, hence the reason why the bumper's off and trying to get some fitment going. The injectors that are planned for this are 1750s primaries and secondaries from Injector Dynamics, because they're stainless and they're alcohol ready. Like, although I am not going alcohol, I just feel that those are going to be a little bit more robust and last a little bit longer from the research that I've done. So with pump gas being as shitty as it is and the environment being as shitty as it is, I think those will probably be the ticket to go for what I need. Fuel pump, that's another thing. I see a lot of guys out there running 450s, 390s or whatever in tanks, and then running like 3 to 4 of them for running E85. Why don't you guys stop doing that and just go to Aeromotive 3.5s or 5.0s? Spend $1,000 on a fuel pump. They're brushless and they flow so much fuel. And this particular car is going with an Aeromotive 3.5. That's going to give me more than enough fuel than what I need, and I don't have to worry about it. The tank is going to be stock gas tank, however, it's going to be internally sumped. That's planned already, so I don't have to worry about that. Kind of taking a little bit of a page from the diesel world with as far as that's concerned, to get the fuel pump to work without having any fuel starvation issues. Another thing that I run obviously the Aeromotive big port A1000 fuel pressure regulator and a Y block. So I run fuel feed to one end of both fuel rails, and then from the both fuel rails into the regulator and then back to the tank. So that's how that all works. Instead of running one rail to the other rail back to the regulator, it just works out so much better that way. The new fuel rails that are going to be going in here, I'm actually putting pulsation dampeners back in both of those Those radium fuel rails are really nice. If you guys haven't seen those, highly recommend radium fuel rails. They're friggin' phenomenal. Those are on order. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff on order. This car's gonna be a lot of fun. Engine's coming back out. It's actually just sitting in the car. It's not bolted down to nothing, but it's coming back out. And once I have it out, I'll go through with the oil pan that I made out of steel, which I'm going to be remaking it out of aluminum. Currently, the oil pan that's in it holds 11 quarts, just over 11 quarts of oil. And again, with rotaries, the more oil you can fit to them, the better. So, stock pickup tube height, but I was able to get this engine, because it's got to be kind of a custom made oil pan for this setup anyway, because being that it's a different mounting and everything, this is kind of a weird car as far as oil pan goes. So we're making the aluminum oil pan from the steel one, and going from there. So I'm going to show you guys all that and how I do all that. The G42 is going in. I'm going to be doing the whole new, body work. That's another thing I'm going to be trying to do. Learn myself some fiberglass, carbon fiber work. I'm going to be making a whole new body setup for this car. So front fenders, hood, front bumper, rear bumper, just everything. Just trying to update the car to make it how I want it, and go from there. I'm going to be redoing the cage in the car. Current one is just a bolt-in. It's SCCA legal, but it is a bolt-in. So that's going to be going full weld in. There's just a bunch of stuff with this car that I'm going to be doing. And front bumpers right there. It's like I said, it's a stock S5 with a factory Mazda aero lip, which I love. You guys, it's such an understated little lip, but aerodynamically that thing actually works. Just got to be careful on how you run your ducting work for your oil cooler and radiator, because at 70 miles an hour, things change underneath the car with that thing on. Let me tell you, that's a whole different story for another video. This one's already 22 minutes long, and well, I'm already way over past what I wanted to make tonight. So, at any rate, a little introduction for this car. It's coming out of the retirement, and it's going on to the rack tomorrow, and I'm gonna start digging into it again. I'm mounting up the tires tomorrow, and yeah, I should have some fun with it. And I'll have plenty of videos coming along with this one of what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and see if we can get this thing back in the dyno and hopefully driving again this year. I miss it. I haven't driven it in, I think it's been 5 years since the last time I drove this car. And this thing is an absolute beast, man. Big wheelwood brakes on it in the front. 13 1/4 by 1 1/4 rotors. Unfortunately all rusty. I don't like the brake pads that are in it. They're actually stamped NASCAR road race, but they suck. They need way too much heat to put in to get them to work for the street. So those are getting switched out. Brake pads that are going in are going to be Carbotex, the XR8s, I believe they are. Phenomenal brake pad. If you guys, you Hawk lovers, I do have Hawks in the back of this car, but those are coming out, and those Carbotex are going in. Again, if you guys are autocrossing, road racing, whatever, and are Hawk fans, give Carbotech a try, because those things are phenomenal, especially if you drive your car on the street. They work so well at cold temperatures versus hot temperatures, and they have such a wide temp range. They're just bitching. They're great freaking brake pads. So be doing some interior work on the car. It's always going to maintain interior. I'm never going to strip this car down so it's uncomfortable to drive, because I do drive this car on the street. So there's a ton of stuff that's going to be happening with this car. I'd like to do some Optima challenges with this thing. I think it'd be a lot of fun to do the Optima Streetcar Challenge at Road America this year with it, if I have it done in time. See if there's any YouTube call-outs or anything like that, like the Ferretti thing. I don't know. I just want to get out there and show the world that, you can have a lot of fun with a high horsepowered rotary on pump gas, not E85, and be reliable, and show the world that the FDs or the 3rd generation RX-7s aren't the end-all be-all for rotaries, because if you know what you're doing with the FC, you can make these things handle so freaking good and be as fast, if not faster, than an FD around a racetrack. So anyway, again, this is just an intro to this thing. Lots more videos to come with it, and I cannot wait. I'm so excited to start working on this car again. I'm so happy to be working on this car again and be able to drive this car again. going to be painting it again. I do have a color picked out, but the paint I want is like $3,600 a gallon, so I'm not exactly sure I want to go that route. And I'm kind of getting used to the sunrise red again, so I might go ahead and just repaint it to sunrise red, but I don't know. We'll see when we get to that point. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you later.